Okay, if y'all remember we stopped off in the last video, I thought I was just fixing a leak on my transmission. We're still working on the 77 K20 pickup truck for a friend of mine. It was her father's truck. If you hadn't watched the video on that, check it out. It's a pretty special truck. We got it running after, I don't know, 13, 14 years. We had to do several things. Alright, when you fire up an old truck after it's sat for a decade, you never know what you're going to get into. I wasn't expecting to be filming a transmission rebuild, but since that's what it needs, and I'm doing it anyway, I decided to bring y'all along. I'm going to do my best to film this in a way that the DIY folks can follow along and rebuild their own transmission, if they want to. So we're going to jump right in. I'm starting at the pump, and we're just going to go from there. Thanks for watching.
Whack-a-mole.
Yep, whack-a-mole. That's getting the old one out. And do that anytime you rebuild a transmission. All right, let's turn around. We'll get right there where you are. I'm going to use the arbor press to put it back in. This is how I like to put them in on the arbor press. That way I just get them in smooth. No question about it. But I mean, I've probably knocked 1,000 of them in, and you can do the same thing with just take a hammer and whatever bushing driver you buy. That's why I like it. I can go back 2 or 3 different times. I don't have to. Less likely the chance of me going too far with it and having to back up. I just take my time and press and get it over here like here. Perfect. See, I got it. It's just flush, just right, not quite flush with the top, and not quite flush with the bottom. It fits. It's, I don't know, just a few thousandths centered in the middle there. All right. Okay, I'm gonna do the seal the exact same way. I'm gonna use my arbor press. I'm just gonna get a flat. I got a flat bushing driver that I'm gonna set over top of that little kit. And that's how simple it is. That's it. That's how simple it is. All right. Okay, since I'm not uploading, I might upload parts of the tear down video, but since I'm not doing it, I told y'all what I want you to do when you tear the pump apart. I don't know if you can see it, but I made a scratch. I made a scratch on the back side of these gears before I took them out of the pump. And here's the reason I did that. You see these little dogs? They actually hold the torque converter. Fine. All right. So I made a scratch right there just so I could identify it. Yeah, I know how it goes, but if you'll get in the habit of it, because some of them aren't as obvious as this, it's pronounced. When I turn this over, you see how these little ears, see how they're recessed back into the gear on one side. They're almost flush there, and then they're recessed back in here. When this gear it sits down in the pump like that, if I had it flipped over, that gear wouldn't be in the right place, and when I put the torque converter in, it would force it too far in and it'd crush it. Here's where it sits in torque converter. When you're putting the torque converter in, I'm going to be talking about when I install it. You want to do 3 clumps when I put the torque converter into the case. But for right now, you understand, that's the last clump. That's where that gear sits. Well, if we don't get this, if we have it sitting like that and we crank the engine, it's going to blow up. Well, it's going to blow up the pump on, not the engine, it's going to blow the pump up on transmission. So that's one of your clumps. That input shaft, it's got to be splined in. This is the pump stator. Seeing that? This part, that has to be splined in. So we're going to So when I say 3 clumps, there's clump, clump, clump. And I'll make a short video because so this will make more sense when I put this together. But that's why when you tear it apart, I want you marking things. And I want people to be able to do this themselves. My goal when I make these videos, I want somebody to be able to, somebody who's just interested or who's a hot rod or whatever, do it themselves. You can save a ton of money. I'm gonna do a $2,500 transmission job here for about 500 bucks, and you can do it too. Pressure's gonna run for a minute. No, it shouldn't be too bad. I hope something cancels the noise out. I buy this. Do what?
I hope so.
I buy this. It's called transmission assembly goo. I buy it from. You buy it from. I guess about any parts store. I know I buy it from whatever it takes when I buy transmission parts. There's several different kinds, and they all do them by different colors. I usually use the blue and the dark green. The blue, the viscosity on it is, it's not too bad in the wintertime, but in the summertime it'll just turn to water. But it's good for lubricating seals and things like that. Where the green is good for holding things together, like if I want to do fluid is too when it's like today. So I can if I want to hold something up. Right there, I'll stick it. If I want to put something in, it'll just hold it. Are you videoing this? Mm-hmm. Okay. It'll just hold there for the green to hold better. But they got gold and they got red. I don't use the red, and the only reason I don't use the red is it looks like transmission fluid. So when I'm putting something on outside the case, it looks like a leak. Because as soon as it starts getting warm, it turns into water. So not water, but it turns like transmission fluid. And it looks like a leak. That's the only reason I use red. I used red for years because that's all they made. But now they make different colors. I'm not really confused. Okay, moving on. Let's just go ahead and finish building the pump. Your transmission parts laying on the table, they make good tools, good holding tools. So just grab them. Oops, I get right there. I know it's it. You just look at your worm tracks. The pump's only going to go on one way, but when I say worm track, this is what I'm talking about. All these little valleys. That's just I call them worm tracks. A lot of people call them worm tracks, not just me.
No, just like wormwood.
That's what it looks like, wormwood. Yep. Yep. Here's another tool you either have to buy or make some. You can get a big post clamp like from HVAC man that'll do the same thing. But we'll put that over the pump, and that lines these two halves up. If you don't, you won't get it into the. You get over in my bolts. You won't be able to get it into the case. Or something. When you're putting the seals on, any seal, I don't care what kind of engine, whatever, brakes, whatever. The lip goes towards the oil. Wherever the oil's coming from, the lip comes in because it blows out and it seals against the wall, the surface it's going to. On the transmission, you'll find a lot of them will have an inside lip here or outside lip. The outer lip that's going to the inside of your piston. This is a clutch supply piston for second gear. And the inner lip goes to the outer. It just meshes up. But look for that. Some of them, especially on the D-ring seals, and I don't have any D-rings to show you on this one, but some transmissions have D-ring seals, and you really kind of got to be careful with those. I don't know. I'm sure at some point we'll get into building the transmission with D-ring seals, even though I'm retired from transmission work, but you never fully retired. It's kind of like the mob.
Yeah, it looks that way.
Do what?
It looks that way.
Yeah, well, it's like the mob. Once you're in, you're never out. Like any mechanic. But I am retired to the point I can pick and choose what I want to do. If I don't want to do it, I don't do it. This is a cool old truck, so I'm doing this one.
Many a transmission.
We got a couple options. You got seal installers, all kind of things to do. Here's what I use most of the time. I use a feeler gauge, or I use a round wire seal installer. And when you're doing it, pay attention. Mm-hmm. All right, when you're doing it, you're not just jabbing it in here like a knife. What I'm doing is I'm going around You're gonna have to get close to this, honey. You see I'm collapsing that seal? What I'm doing is I'm pushing the seal flat and I'm going around, and as I push it down, I'm not jamming it in there because you can cut the seal. So, and it's the same way with this, if you look on Amazon, you look up seal installer, this is one of them you'll find. It's the same process, but field gauge just works better for me, fits my hand better. So what I do is I just put pressure on my hand, and I'm just going around. I'm pushing that seal flat like I showed you. I'm not cutting. I'm not just jamming it by there. I'm just going smooth. I'm just going through and just slowly flattening it. And I'm probably putting. I take my hand off of it. I'm not putting much pressure at all. And you do the same thing on the inside. I'm just pushing it flat. If it falls behind, it's fine. But you know, if you feel any resistance, like it's cutting, just pull it back out and start over. I just did that a minute ago. I didn't really talk about it, but I'm doing more pushing than I am pushing sideways, pushing in than I am pushing down. Sometimes it takes a minute. Sometimes it'll just fall right in. This is one of the easier ones, but it's still fighting me. A bump right there. All right. When it falls in, it just falls in. And I always try, if I can, I try to give it a turn. It lets me feel better about everything seated like it's supposed to. Okay, we are still on putting the pump together. Where's my piston retainer? And lay your parts out. I got everything scattered. Lay your parts out as you take it apart if you've never done it before. Or if you have done it before, it's probably a good idea. I should do it. Okay. You can use a torque wrench, and I recommend that if you hadn't done much of this stuff, but this one isn't all that critical. I know my impact wrench. So that's how I'm doing. All right. You'll always have selective thrust washers. I'll check it when I put it back together. I checked it before I took it apart, so I know these are fine, but I'll show y'all how to check it when I put it back in the when I put this back in the case. You may have metal sealing rings when you get your kit. It may be replaced with Teflon. Either one is just fine. I do like the old metal ones, but the Teflons, I don't know, a lot of people like them better. But I don't want you thinking just because it didn't look exactly the same as what you got that they left them out. They're picked behind you. So you just on the camera, so you may have to take a little pick and get in here and pop these metal sealing rings out. Talk a minute about how they work when they get to premium. I'm just doing this with my hands. If you gotta take a pair of pliers and open them up, or snap ring pliers, fine, that's fine too. I just do it with my fingers. the way these sealing rings seal. So you got them scarf cut like that, and make sure when you put them in, don't overlap them like that. Make sure they fit, just the way they're supposed to. Fluid gets behind these, fluid pressure, and opens these things up. It's just like kind of automatically tensions itself with fluid pressure. That's how they work, and that's how they seal. And the fluid gets on both sides of it, but it does a really good job of sealing. Even though it's on both sides, it's not leaking through. It's just lubricating on both sides. And this is just how I'm gonna build a transmission. When I build them in sub-assemblies. This is one sub-assembly, it's a pump. The assembly will be the whole transmission when it's done, and it's comprised of a bunch of little sub-assemblies, pump, valve, body, gear train, such and such. All right, so I go ahead and put my pump O-ring on. If you notice, it's got a white mark on the side of it. I was talking earlier about the D-cut seals. That's a perfect example. I don't think I have one. It's real flat on that side. It's rounded on that side like a D. That's a D-cut. They marked this one with a white stripe, but a lot of transmissions, especially some of the Chryslers and all, they use a lot of these D-cut seals, and they're not marked at all. You just got to look for that. We're pumping some information out with baby.
Yep, we pumping.
Pumping something out. Hopefully pumping something good, not something septic. Okay. Now I'll just set that over to the side and we'll grab something else and mess with it. I'll probably put the seals on this, the low and reverse piston. Yeah, it's not really a D cut. It kind of is, but it's more of a square cut. But you can't go wrong on that because it only fits one size on 350. It's not like you got a lot of them's close to choose from. And it can be square cut. This doesn't rotate in the case. Some of the stuff's all the time rotating. This doesn't, so that can be a square cut and pop up and down. If you want to know why they can do that, now you do. All right. All right, that is ready to go in. I'll set it to the side. Okay, we're going to move to right here. Here's another little trick I want to show. There's a lot of times you have a snap ring that goes with a piston retainer, and they'll be real close to the same size snap ring just to save time. And some of them are really, really confusing. And just to save time, I always just zip time, just take a plastic tie wrap and just tie wrap to it when I tear it down. And the whole time I'm cleaning it, the whole time everything, I just keep them together. Works for me. So that's a tip. So there's another one. When I took them out, because those snappers will be just a little bit different. They'll be close, but won't fit just exactly right. Again, it's Ford clutch drum. These seals, remember I said, you got the lip. You got your lip for your fluid goes towards the fluid, and you got your inside lip. Gonna be your outside lip on that seal for the inside hole, and vice versa. I use a bunch of this trans gel, but reason being, I don't want to roll seal. I don't care if I use that whole jug of trans gel. It's like $5. If I get a roll seal, then I got to pull the whole transmission back out. Looking for the pivot gauge. There again, I'm just pushing on the outside to seal the feeler gauge as they go around. Not cutting anything. Some of these can be a pain, but you just gotta stay patient, just keep working with them, eventually they'll pop in. Sometimes you just pop one in just like nothing, and the other times it'll work like I'm working now. All right, when I slide in, I did just like that. Did that one? Did I hope you got it. Man, I take my thumb and I sort of rotate it like I did the other, just to make sure everything's seated right. All right, we'll have to go over to the press and pop that in. We'll try to hold that with one hand. Getting fancy on them.
Fancy old Milwaukee studio light.
Yeah, I don't know if they saw what I was using, but it's just old Milwaukee flashlights, our studio light. Okay. There's a groove that snap ring falls in, and it's snapped in. And I'll take something, if I had a screwdriver, I'd use a screwdriver, so I got these pliers. And I'll go around, just pull and push and prod, make sure it went up in that hole, and it did. So, right there. That's an old school snap press. I bought that in 1989. Most people use a foot press. I just never bought one. I don't know if I ever will. But I've done a bunch of transmissions with this. It's always got me back. All right, we're gonna alternate one friction, one steel until we get the clutch pack built. I got it notated somewhere exactly how many goes in which one, but I'm just gonna stack them up till I get my clearance right. Try to anyway. These aren't burned, that's just the coating that's on those. That dark color on those. So let's see how many go. 1, 2, 3, 4. I got 5 and 5 on that, and then you got that's a cushion spring. I could leave that out actually and put another, maybe get another clutch in it, but I like to have a cushion spring in it. Unless it's just a full-blown race car or something. It feels good, so what kind of clearance it got. Let's say 5, so it should be 8 to 12, should be somewhere around 50,000. This is 26 and 24. So 25, 24. That's 49,000. That's about right. That's what it needs to be. Rule of thumb: you always use the book or the sheet if you got a build sheet. But 8 to 12 thousandths is what you put on any clutch and automatic, unless it's just unless it's different. Unless they've come up with something they found out. The engineers have decided we don't need to be that way, like a 700R 434 clutch. You know, they don't run them that tight. But for the most part, 8 to 12 thousandths to get you on any wet clutch. You just count up another clutch. GM did something on the 350s and 700s and some different transmissions that makes them harder. This lip goes up. When you take it apart, it goes up. The reason being, there again, it's facing the supply, but that's not applying. This is when the valve body, when you shift that to third, it releases this clutch. I mean, it's got a positive release on it. These other two seals will face down towards the bottom because they push up on the clutch, and that little piston's there designed, and when the valves, when you come out of third, like for a kick down, it kicks that off real fast. And it's worked for 50 some years, so I mean you can't knock it. We used to call this Newell grease, baby. We bought it from Babe Newell. It was the only place we knew to get it from. We was in the dealer back then. He bought, we bought dealers. The dealership didn't sell this stuff, so we go buy it from Babe. We just called it Newell grease.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Well, Babe looked after all of us now. He helped us any way he could. Yeah, this one can be a real pain in the butt with them 3 seals that you gotta get going. The one's kind of concave, the one that's upside down, the piston's kind of concave, so you can't get a filler gauge in it. But it still adds a little degree of difficulty to it. Trying. See how that just when it goes, it goes real easy. You just gotta be patient. Patience is something I struggle with. When I bought this, I thought this was state of the art. It was really for us because we still had that old handheld crank. All we had.
That was back some time ago.
Yeah, and Boomer showed me this. He had bought one of these. He got a tool man to order. It wasn't like today when you just go to Amazon and when you see something, you might not even know where to buy it. 88 or 89. Oh yeah, studio lighting.
1988.
Uh-huh. Well, not 18. I ain't that daggum old.
Studio light out.
Yes, it's better this. All right. Get over there. Some form of one-way clutch. The new ones have a different kind of spray. Which one's that tick?
A tick?
Yep, they just walk across the thing. The older ones have, well, this might be the wishbone spray. First, let's show you what it does. You see how this turns one way, but it won't the other? And what we use that to control what they use to. So what your main thing you need to know is which way it locks. Remember, I had your free wheels this way, and then locks that way. And when you're taking these apart, you need to make note of that. A lot of times I do just like I did there. I'll take apart everything, clean it, and then I'll put it back in while I'm waiting on my parts, instead of having stuff sitting around. Those little springs can get damaged pretty easy. But I just want to show y'all, if you've never built a transmission before, those are things you're going to see. I want to make sure I'm showing everything. All right. again, we're gonna friction some steel. Cushion spring goes on the bottom. It's a factory build. If you want to take that out, you can. It doesn't matter. But looks like brand new, so I'm not replacing it. This case bushing. Can you see it? And anyway, where my finger is right there, it's a case bushing. If it had any wear, anywhere at all, I'd replace it. But I mean, that looks like brand new, so there's no chance, no need messing with it. All right. I'm gonna put the lower reverse piston in. All right, let's try this again. Once again, put that little notch. It's got to line up. And that notch down in the case. So I'm gonna drop it down there.
Where's the notch?
Right there. And right there.
Okay.
All right. I can see you can't push it down in there all the way down into the notch really. You push it down just enough, you can feel it kind of just enough where I can just barely feel it touching the open hole in the notch. That's how it's supposed to pop in, just like that. All right. Reverse spring. Here's another tool you'll have to buy if you're gonna build these. It works on 700 R4s, 4L60Es, 350s. I don't remember if it works on 400 or not. You may have to get the big. I got one of these on C6s and E4ODs. I think it might be one for 400. I can't remember. Hope you can see what I'm doing. I'm turning the screw down and it's compressing the springs where I can get my snap ring in. And we'll do our best to video it, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to start one end of the snap ring and I'm just going to work it around with a screwdriver. Just like this, once I get it in. I hope that Karen picked that up. That was a good example. It pushed, it had a long way to push in. And a couple more things we need to look at. If you're putting these in, always think about, see like that little hole is? I mean, that's just a little fluid hole, but you don't want to have like the end of the snapper in there because, you know, you lose a lot of strength. You know, things like that. Just be mindful of that when you're putting snapper rings in, that kind of thing. A lot of grease. I say it's an assembly loop, so when you're putting the thrust bearings, we got torn some bearings that goes on the bottom of this rear end. Excuse me. I guess I need to set it up on the stand at this point. Okay, this little washer with these 3 tangs on it, it's going to go right down there. If it's in the grooves, those 3 tangs went to the bottom. I just double checking there. Something. All right. Okay, when I get to that point, I like to go ahead and put the low and reverse clutches in. See that little mark right there? If you put this mark down or towards the case, it'll go in this hole right here. And leave that opening for your parking pawl, they'll fall right in place. This mark, and then your opening for your parking pawl on this side, they'll fall right in place. Let me get my studio lighting because I don't think they can see that dark as it is. That's something that can help somebody. I want them to see it. Yeah.
Not real clear.
I'm gonna make sure I want it real clear because somebody's never built one before. You can fight like a combination lock. If you know the combination, it'll open right up. But if you don't, it's not gonna open up. All right. See that little cutout mark right there?
Okay.
That little cutout mark right there. All right. See where that hole is. You got a wide hole here, and then you got a thick passage right there. That's gonna fall right in there. If you don't do that, you'll go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. There's a lot of people and a lot of debate on whether you should soak these clutches in transmission fluid before you put them in. On some transmissions, I do. On some of these older ones, like a 350 or a C6, all it does is make a hell of a mess. I don't see any use in doing it. As soon as I crank this transmission up, it's going to be pumping fluid. It takes a little while to get the fluid actually full. And they'll soak right there in the car. I got it up on the lift, the wheels off the ground with no pressure. I think it's just a waste of time and just makes a hell of a mess. That's my opinion on it. May not be anybody else's opinion in the whole world. You do what you want to do on that. Now there's some, especially like I don't know, like I'll use an AOD old or a 4R70 direct clutches. Now this is an anti-clump spring I'm putting in, by the way. It's got a flat side. It goes right against the wall. And that's going to hold this other piece in. If you don't have that thing in there, when it goes from say third down to second, it clumps real bad. Down to first, it clumps real bad. And they got other pieces, case savers and things made to go in that hole if you need it. This one didn't need it. All right. Supposed to have a new spray for here. Let me come around you. I'm gonna move this. We're gonna work on the bench for just a second. Now remember what I was saying about the one-way clutches. There's some free wheels clockwise. It locks anti-clockwise. Okay. So y'all remember that, because I'm probably gonna forget before we get this thing swapped out. I might have to. Okay. This took me longer than it ever should have, but I am out of practice. Anyway, there it goes. Free wheels clockwise, locks anti-clockwise. Remember what? Okay, when you're putting this in, you can look. You can see you got this wide space, and you got a wide space right here. If you look down here, you see this spring, this side of the spring is up against the case here, and this side's going to snap in that groove. All right, then you got to make sure this messes up and pushes down just like that. This is a good thing I'm building this thing. I am way out of practice. When I put the snap ring in, I'm gonna lay the snap ring right over that spring, but not over this part of the spring. That's gonna help hold the spring in and keep the snap ring from hindering. I gotta get my fancy studio lighting that down for a minute, but I'll show you as I can. Okay, y'all see how that spring, this is anti-cunk spring. The snap ring is holding that end of the spring in. It wraps all the way around and it comes up, you know, to this lug. So that's as strong as it can be, and it's holding this anti-cunk spring like it's supposed to. All right. Next is the thrust washer here. All right. Our sun gears. All right, it's got bushings in here. Always check these bushings. These look like brand new, so we're gonna leave them. And the reason I leave some is so sometimes these older parts are better than what you're buying today. Everything now is coming from China. I mean, this was made in USA years ago, and I mean, if it's better, it's just better. I'd rather use the old one and have a better part. Alright, there's a front planet, and there's a snap ring that's going to go right there, wherever it may be. It's right here. Yeah, you can put that up under your armpit or something. Okay. I don't know how we can see it, but I'm prying that snap ring back in the hole just like I do all the rest of them, making sure it's seated. Okay. Once I get that snap ring in, the thrust washer goes right there. And then that carrier goes on, and then there's a thrust washer right here. Okay, that's good. All right, hear that pump? It's all the way down. What I'm doing, I'm meshing all these clutches up when I'm wiggling and shaking it. Yeah, there's no possible way I can video that. The band goes in right now.
Right
I'm
now.
just reusing the old band. These bands, unless it's something that's really racing and stuff, they don't get used unless you put it in manual second. So, I mean, they'll last and last and last. You know, a lot of transmissions, the band applies every time it shifts in a second, not these. All right, I'll try to show you what I just did. There's a built-in anchor into the case right here. And there's a hump in the band that catches that anchor. This goes through. If you're not sure if you got it right, I can come through the case here in this hole. Look over here. Come through the case, and this hole right there, that's your band apply rod. Now look over the top. And I'm marking the band, so I know everything's right. Okay. Now it looks right. Same thing, we're gonna put, nope, that goes on the pump side. What are you thinking? There we go. Clutch is messed up. When I was shaking that stuff a minute ago, this is what I was actually doing, shaking the clutch down in the splines just like that. We can go fiber steel, fiber steel. That, and the pump will go in next. The pump gasket will go on next. I always like to put the gasket down and look at all the channels, make sure everything's fitting the way everything's supposed to fit. Looks like it is. Okay. These little cutouts are so you can put a bolt through the pump and put all this in together. I don't do it that way. I'll show you how I do it, but that's, should you choose to do that, you can flip that over on the pump, put those 2 bolts in and start it. What I do is I grease everything up again with the transmission assembly lube, otherwise known as newel grease.
Because Babe was the only place you could get it.
Well, that's the only place we knew you get it. You could buy, I mean, him and Boomer did a lot of transmissions. He wasn't really a transmission shop, but they did a whole lot of transmissions because Boomer was, you know, the one that taught me how to do a lot of stuff. And back then, it was ATD, I think was the name of it. ATD parts before Whatever It Takes bought them. And I think that same salesman still works for a guy named Woody. But anyway, that's who, when we wanted aftermarket, because we were dealership, everything we did was, you know, Chrysler. I'd go in parts room, I'd get Mopar parts. I didn't do any aftermarket stuff. And, but if we did a GM or Chevrolet, and it's usually on our own stuff or on a side job, or usually Boomer showing us how to do it, we'd get the parts from Bay. What I do when I put the pump in is I use a screwdriver and I line it up with a bolt hole right beside this, you know, just opening in the pump, just pour it in the pump. Make sure I'm telling you right. And I just got it in like that. That's my way of doing it. And then I take the fancy studio light, look down through all the holes. I can adjust it if I need to. So if you notice, I just set the pump on real lightly. Nothing's tight yet. Okay. Pump bolts. Ready? Mm-hmm. All right, on your pump bolts, you got little seals that come in the kit. The way you get the old ones off, I didn't get a video of it, but I just take the old ones, I just cut them off. I mean, you can sit there finagle with them and mess and unscrew them if you want to, but I just cut them off. All right. Another reason I did screw, I was trying to kind of wall that around, kind of walk it back and forth, help me in starting them. I did. I surely did. It's an old school speed wrench, and it's about all I use them on are transmission pumps and certain things. When I want to pull it down, and I check the end play before I ever tighten anything up completely. That's snug. I had just had a pair of pliers. I can lose something quick if anybody will find it or something. There it is. Pair of pliers. First, I'll make sure that turns free. Not really seeing any up and down here play. So we'll put snug on it. There again, I recommend y'all torquing this. But if you don't, be careful with the impact wrench. It's kind of popping it. I think 30 foot-pounds, 30 or maybe 38 foot-pounds is the spec. And I do torque the aluminum pumps, and the big pumps, and all the imports, anything like that. I torque every bolt on them. But these 350s, yeah, I'm not worried about it. I'm not gonna sit here and try to overcomplicate it, make it where y'all feel like you gotta worry about it. That's almost zero in place. I know it feels good. There's an extra washer back there that was in there that I like. I like them. I like a 350 setup like that. Somebody might not think it's right, but that's the way I do it. So, since I'm the one doing it, that's the way it's gonna get done. So. Okay. You can take a break recording for just a minute if you want to. I lost my camera later for a few minutes, so we're going to do the best we can. I am putting a B&M shift kit in this thing. I really like the way a B&M shift kit's is simplicity, and I like the way they shift in a 350. I use Transco, in some things, I use Fairbanks in some things. For these, this is what I'm using. I'm doing the heavy duty on it. I'm not going to go through the whole shift kit. I mean, you drill some holes, you file some stuff, but I am going to show this part. I'm only using two check. This 350's got 4 check valves. I'm only putting 2 of them back in. Here's the other one, heavy duty. Ready? Mm-hmm. All right, on your pump bolts, you got little seals that come in the kit. The way you get the old ones off, I didn't get a video of it, but I just take the old ones, I just cut them off. I mean, you can sit there and finagle with them and mess and unscrew them if you want to, but I just cut them off. All right. Another reason I did screw off, so I can kind of wall that around, kind of walk it back and forth. Help me in starting them. I did. I surely did. All right. It's an old school speed wrench, and it's about all I use them on are transmission pumps and certain things. When I want to pull it down, and I check the end play before I ever tighten anything up completely. snug. I just had a pair of pliers. I can lose something quick if anybody don't find it or something. There it is. Pair of pliers. First, I'll make sure that turns free. Not receive any up and down in play. So let's put snug on it. There again, I recommend y'all cooking this. If you don't, be careful with your impact wrench. I'm just kind of popping it. I think 30 foot-pounds, 30 or maybe 38 foot-pounds I suspect. And I do torque the aluminum pumps, and the big pumps, and all the imports, anything like that. I torque every bolt on them. But these 350s, yeah, I'm not worried about it. I'm not gonna sit here and try to overcomplicate it, make it where y'all feel like you gotta worry about it. That's almost zero in place. I know it feels good. There's an extra washer back there that was in there that I like. I like them. I like a 350 setup like that. Somebody might not think it's right, but that's the way I do it. So since I'm the one doing it, that's the way it's gonna get done. All right, there. Okay, you can take a break recording for just a minute if you want to. All right, I've lost my camera later for a few minutes, so we're gonna do the best we can. I am putting a B&M shift kit in this thing. I really like the way a B&M shift kit's, its simplicity, and I like the way they shift in a 350. I use Transco, in some things, I use Fairbanks in some things. For these, this is what I'm using. I'm doing the heavy duty on it. I'm not gonna go through the whole shift kit. I mean, you drill some holes, you file some stuff, but I am gonna show this part. I'm only using two check. If 350's got 4 check valves, I'm only putting 2 of them back in. Here's the other one. Heavy duty. Back up. You got two separator plate gaskets. One of them's got a big Z in it that goes on top of the plate. And you won't see that. I'll put this plate, this is factory. I'll put this plate on before I set the valve body down. Pretty sure I can wait and tighten these all up at one time on a non-lockup. On a lockup, you gotta tighten these up first before you put the main valve body down. I am going to start a couple of bolts through. All I'm doing at this point is just lining the separator plate up. You got a separator plate and gasket on each side of it. I'm just lining them up so when I set this valve body down in a second, I won't have to finagle with it. Try to show you this. You don't always have to take every. All right, right here is where my battery went dead in my microphones. I lost sound. So what I was showing you is you don't have to take every valve out. Just clean your valve body up real good, and I'm pushing the valves back against the springs, and I'm listening for an audible snap when it snaps back, and that way I know they're not sticking. Okay, here I move around. I talk about not forgetting the shifter seal. It'd be easy to do to build the whole transmission and forget that little seal. I'm gonna pop it out with a screwdriver, and then I'm gonna take a half inch. You're gonna use a 9/16 socket, probably better, and just tap the seal in. There are special tools made. I had one, but I don't know where it is. I bet 99% of them will put in with a socket anyway. And that's really all I'm talking about right here. This is where I'm taking that socket I was telling you about, and I'm just tapping it, kind of lightly tapping it flush. Make sure it don't go in crooked. You know, just be careful, take your time, and it's really easy to do. You won't have any problems. Okay, what I'm doing in this clip, this is the parking pawl guide. It bolts in with 2 bolts, 2 half-inch bolts. Just take a picture of it when you take it apart, or just take a mental note of it. You can't put it in wrong. And the little parking pawl guide, just take and work it with your finger so you know it. You know it slides and moves like it's supposed to. The park rod that'll come off the shift selector will go into that guide. We'll see that in a minute. Okay, I want to cut in and show you. You see that grind mark on that bolt? It's right there about you, right there where that shifter's going by. That's part of putting the shift kit in. You got to grind that bolt, that plate. When you put this little plate that you put in, it's a little longer. And I did want to show this part because you will, if you put a B&M shift kit in, you will be grinding that bolt. And that's the park rod we were talking about a minute ago. Remember I told you it slides in. So that little gear, this BMS I'm pointing at right there, that's your parking pawl. When you put it in park, that's what locks it in. So you can check all that. Just, you know, you just put it in and move it and make sure it makes sense and everything's working. It's really easy. Alright, here I'm putting the valve body in. There's a little S-clip that goes in. It goes in the manual valve, and then it goes into a hole in that little rooster cone part of the of the shifter. Wish I had a better video. I wish I hadn't lost my audio, but that's what I'm doing. Well, telling them they couldn't really see that good. This is E-clip goes in. It'll come in. I turn the manual valve this way, so it comes in this side and it goes in here. I set all that down. I'm looking. No, I'm gonna have to tighten these bolts up. I thought I could put the valve body down and then tighten them bolts, but I can't. So let me take it back off. If y'all think I should be using a torque wrench, leave in the comment. Let me know. I don't want to set a bad example. I just know. I just know how I do this. But if I should be doing that, I want y'all to like my videos, so I'll do what you ask me to. All right. I got it. Yeah, that's what you do. So I should just check that, make sure it's working. Or you know, if she meant to, but that's what you do. You just check things as you go. She's been around this enough. She probably built it herself.
No, but I like your company.
That's going to be spring loaded. That's your second gear accumulator down there holding that up. That's normal. We'll tighten these bolts up here in a second. All that'll fall into place. Okay, this spring right here, when this is your selector. All this is when you're pulling your shifter and you feel click, click, click. This is what you're feeling. That should let you know what your gear selector's in, or let you feel it. And it keeps it from shaking and falling back out just right down the road. All right. show this right here. The tail shaft over here. What I'm doing there is I'm spinning that tail shaft. When I put it in park, it locks in park. Like I said, I'm just checking things as I go. There's the front and the back of this filter. It says right on their front. Front, of course, front of the transmission. I know that might seem simple, but I have seen them put on backwards. And I have seen arguments about it. At the end of the day, and it's not going to argue with you. Everything's got to line up, so front goes to front. But just get you a black gasket. Made by, it's like Fair Pack. I don't know. And I don't know what the name of it is. It's got one, but like I said, that's too fancy for me. I just need to get a black gasket. You'll be happy. They sell a lot better, a lot less. You don't have to baby them so much. You can just put this thing on. I tighten it up with an impact wrench. A 3/8 impact wrench, lightly tighten it up, then it'll be fine. I don't mean to beat the hell out of your pan, but if you got any, if you ain't sure, get your torque wrench. Put on torque wrench. I think they're 18-foot bouncing. If I put the cork one on, we'd look it up. That's what I'd be doing if I didn't have this. We learned way back. Like I said, I worked in Dodge dealership, 150 inch pounds, and we had high tack. Red high tack was what we sprayed on them. And me and the guy named Jeff Holt used to work on them, and if we torqued them and put that high tack on it, you never had any problems. But if you didn't, you just liable to get the gun back. They'll settle after a few miles. You drive 100, 200 miles, and if somebody don't snug the pan bolts up, because it's going to start seeping. So if it starts seeping, it starts going from there, going downhill from there. Alright, heavy duty, which is what I'm doing. I want you to leave the spring out of the accumulator over here. Which is that spring right there. Just get rid of it. Just like that. I don't have to make it so hard there. Okay, there's a hole. Can you see that little hole? What that hole's for is to stick a pick through to push this spring out. So when you do it, make sure you get the end of your spring back over that hole. That way, next time somebody has to take it out, it'll work like it's supposed to. Okay.
Okay.
Can you see it moving?
Uh-huh.
All right, that's your governor valve. That's how you take it. These weights right here. When you go, the faster you go, the more out they swing. They slow down. They fall back. But that's how you check the governor, see if it's sticking. And it goes right in this hole. Right. Turn around. It just slides in this hole right here. And that's how easy it is to check the governor. It has a seal, it goes right on it, and then you just tap it in. See a little dent right there? That's going to keep the end plate of the governor. So if I get the governor in there, if I don't like it, I can adjust the end plate on the governor. Normally wouldn't have to unless something's happened. It has bent the governor housing. All right. Put this on. Is that paint?
When
What'd you say it was? 10,
15.
15, 20, 23.
And thanks for watching. Welcome to
Thanks for
workshop.
watching.
What? Perfect. That's perfect. I'm leaving that in.
That's too funny.